On this vote, the yeas are 222 and the nays are 200. The motion is adopted.
Protect America's Workforce Act would overturn President Trump's executive order from March that ended collective bargaining rights for roughly 1 million Americans who work for the federal government. Since the order was made, the administration has ripped up more than 700,000 union contracts, and it left our federal workforce more vulnerable to unfair treatment and political interference. I'm proud that since introducing this bill, it's won the support of 226 of my colleagues in this chamber. This majority includes Democrats and Republicans who recognize that collective bargaining is not a partisan issue. It's about fairness, dignity on the job, and a voice in the workplace.
In a dramatic rebuke to President Trump, more than a dozen Republicans joined Democrats on Wednesday to advance a bill overturning one of his major executive orders. The U.S. House voted 222 to 200 to nullify Trump's March order, which had stripped collective bargaining rights from nearly 1 million federal workers.
What's happening, people? Welcome to Jack Mockler again. Trump's grip on Congress is crumbling as Republicans defect in droves, teaming with Democrats to overturn his agenda. With a House majority so thin that a single defection can kill a bill, his power is evaporating in real time. What's happening right now in Washington is nothing short of revolutionary. Republicans are crossing the aisle and voting with Democrats on major policy issues, on executive orders, on veto overrides, on war powers resolutions, on the very things that define Trump's presidency and his legacy. And every time it happens, Trump loses. Every time his own party says no, his carefully constructed image of invincibility shatters a little more. His power is shown to be an illusion. His authority is revealed as a myth.
The measure was pushed forward by Democratic Representative Jared Golden, who used a discharge petition, a rare congressional tool that forces a vote when a majority of lawmakers support it, even against leadership wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Protect America's Workforce Act would overturn President Trump's executive order from March that ended collective bargaining rights for roughly 1 million Americans who work for the federal government. Since the order was made, the administration has ripped up more than 700,000 union contracts. The order was the largest act of union busting in American history, and it left our federal workforce more vulnerable to unfair treatment and political interference. I'm proud that since introducing this bill, it's won the support of 226 of my colleagues in this chamber. This majority includes Democrats and Republicans who recognize that collective bargaining is not a partisan issue. It's about fairness, dignity on the job, and a voice in the workplace. In his order, President Trump said ending collective bargaining was about protecting our national defense.
His presidency is exposed as fundamentally paralyzed, and the machinery of government that he was supposed to be controlling is jamming up, grinding to a halt, and it's his own people doing it to him. Let me give you a concrete example that illustrates exactly how bad this has gotten. On a vote that would have stripped collective bargaining rights from federal workers, Trump assumed his party would fall in line. He assumed Republicans would support him. He assumed it would be a routine victory, another notch on his belt, another demonstration of his absolute control. But then something shocking happened, something that sent shockwaves through the entire political establishment. 20 House Republicans crossed the aisle and voted with Democrats. 20, not 2. Not 5, not even 10. 20 Republicans said no to Trump and voted to overturn his executive order.
But in my district and many others, affected workers build our warships and care for our veterans. These workers make our country safer and stronger every single day. America didn't vote to silence these workers, but this bill gives all of us a chance to restore their voices. Every one of us in this body was sent here by our constituents to represent their voice in Congress. While the majority leadership has broad prerogative to set the calendar and control the flow of legislation, no one here believes they should have absolute power to determine which bills see the light of day and which don't. The discharge petition process exists to give members of Congress some agency. It's a release valve to ensure that good bills with broad support cannot be held up forever by a leadership team. It gives us a fair shot at building a coalition to do the people's work and get an up or down vote on the floor. That's exactly how my colleagues and I have spent the past several months. We've built a bipartisan coalition representing a majority of the House in support of this bill and done the work to bring it to the floor.
The vote passed 231 to 195. Trump lost. His own party defeated him. His own side destroyed his agenda. And that was just the beginning. NBC News reported this as the first time in Trump's term that the House had moved to overturn one of his executive orders. The first time. That's a historic moment. That's a turning point. That sends an unmistakable signal to everyone watching that Trump is not untouchable, that his power has limits, that if enough Republicans decide his position is politically dangerous for them, they will abandon him without hesitation. They will break ranks. They will vote against their own president. And the floodgates opened after that. The defections kept coming. The American Prospect documented that in early 2026, Republican lawmakers crossed Trump on multiple votes. Dozens of them. 24 Republicans here.
I know that none of us ran for office with a vision of governing by discharge petition. Most of us long for the return of regular order, where bills are assessed in committee, seriously debated, and given a vote. But here we are. As it stands, we must use every tool available to do the people's work. I'm grateful to my 8 Republican colleagues who co-sponsored the bill, led by my friend Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and to the 5 Republicans who signed the discharge petition to ensure that this chamber would hold this vote. If the majority we built over the past few months sticks together, we can overturn this union-busting executive order, and we can show America that this body will protect workers' rights. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on the rule. Let these workers have their day on the House floor. Give them an up or down vote. They deserve that much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Trump's executive order had stripped collective bargaining rights across key agencies, including defense, state, veterans affairs, justice, energy, and parts of homeland security, treasury, and agriculture.
35 Republicans there, voting against Trump, rejecting his positions, siding with Democrats to override his vetoes and block his orders and constrain his power. When you step back and think about this, it's absolutely insane. These are Republicans voting with Democrats against a Republican president. These are members of the same party saying no to their own leader. These are lawmakers who were elected on Trump's coattails, who campaigned on supporting his agenda, who owe their careers to his popularity, and they're turning their backs on him. And Trump can't stop them. He can't control them. He can't punish them into submission because his majority is so thin that he can't afford to lose them.
Unlike private sector workers, federal employees can't strike or negotiate wages, but unions can influence working conditions, and this bill seeks to restore that voice.
We have informed the federal workforce, which they've looked to do for many years, that if they're working for the federal government, they must show up to the office on time and on schedule. We don't want them. We don't want them to work from home because, as everyone knows, most of the time they're not working, they're not very productive, and it's unfair to the millions of people in the United States who are in fact working hard from job sites and not from their home. As federal employees, they must meet a high standard. They're representing our government. They're representing our country. If they don't agree by February 6th to show up back to work in their office, they will be terminated, and we will therefore be downscaling our government, which is something that the last 10 presidents have tried very hard to do but failed.
He needs every single Republican vote. He's desperate for every single Republican vote. And when Republicans realize that, when they understand that Trump needs them more than they need Trump, everything changes. The power dynamic flips completely. This is the political equivalent of a hostage situation where the hostage realizes they actually have leverage over the captor. Trump thought he was in control. He thought Republicans would follow him blindly. He thought his threats and intimidation would keep everyone in line. But the numbers don't lie. The GOP majority is functionally broken. It's not working. They don't have the votes to pass anything if Republicans keep defecting. They don't have the authority. They don't have the power. Trump's power is completely dependent on keeping every single Republican in line, and he can't do it. He can't discipline his party. He can't command loyalty. His presidency is paralyzed. His agenda is dead in the water. The kicker came in January when Republican leaders tried to push through a bill that Trump desperately wanted. This was supposed to be a victory. They'd counted the votes beforehand. They were confident. They thought it was going to pass easily. But when the vote actually happened, several Republicans unexpectedly voted no. Just a few, maybe 5 or 6. But that was enough. That was all it took. The bill crashed. It went down 209 to 215. It lost badly. Trump's bill was dead in the water, and GOP leaders had to pull 2 more bills off the floor that same week because they couldn't get them through either. They simply didn't have the votes. The numbers didn't work. The math didn't add up. And that's when everyone realized the full scope of the disaster. Trump's majority was gone. His power was gone. His presidency was functionally over. So why is this happening? Why are Republicans suddenly willing to vote against Trump? This is what everyone needs to understand because it gets to the heart of what's driving these defections. These are not random acts of rebellion. These are not mistakes or accidents. These are calculated political decisions. Republicans are making a conscious choice to break with Trump because they think it's in their political interest to do so. They think their voters want them to do it. They think it helps them survive in their districts. They think it helps them win re-election. And they're right. Take the union issue as an example. Trump signed an executive order stripping collective bargaining rights from federal workers. He probably thought it would be easy. He probably thought nobody would dare vote against him. But some Republicans represent districts where union workers are important, where union voters have power, where union workers can make or break an election. And those Republicans looked at Trump's order and said, I can't vote for this. If I vote to strip union rights, the unions in my district will turn on me. They'll campaign against me. They'll spend money against me. They'll mobilize voters against me. I'll lose my seat. I'll lose my career. I'll lose everything. So they voted against Trump. They said no to the president. They broke ranks and joined Democrats. And once those first Republicans voted no, it became easier for others to do the same. There was cover. There was a group. There was protection in numbers. Then there's the war powers issue. Trump wanted to escalate against Iran. He wanted more military authority. He wanted to be able to take action without Congress, without declaring war, without following the constitutional process. And some Republicans said, absolutely not. That's too much power for one person. That's dangerous. We have to rein him in. We have to protect the Constitution. We have to preserve the checks and balances our founders created. So 4 Republicans joined Democrats on a war powers resolution to constrain Trump's ability to wage war. 4 might not sound like a lot, but on a 1-vote margin, 4 is absolutely enormous. 4 can kill an entire bill. 4 can stop an entire agenda. 4 can reshape history. And Trump was so angry, he publicly attacked them, called them bad Republicans, questioned their loyalty, threatened them on Truth Social. But they voted no anyway. They thought it was the right thing to do, or they thought their voters wanted them to vote no, or they thought unlimited war powers was dangerous. Whatever the reason, they defected on a major national security issue. The underlying dynamic here is that Republicans are starting to realize something fundamental about power. They're understanding that Trump is not a dictator. He's not a king. He's not someone who can rule by decree. He's the president, but he needs them. He desperately needs House Republicans to pass his agenda. He critically needs them to defend him. He absolutely needs them to protect him from impeachment. And if Republicans collectively say no, if they collectively decide to break with him, Trump is done. He can't function. His presidency becomes worthless. So Republicans are realizing they have leverage. They have power. They have something Trump wants. And they're starting to use it. This is strategic. This is calculated. Republicans are calculating whether it's better to vote with Trump or vote against him. And they're voting against him when they think it helps them, when they think it helps their district, when they think it helps their political survival, when they think it helps their re-election chances. A Republican in a swing district with a lot of union workers is going to think about whether voting to strip union rights helps them or hurts them. And if it hurts them, they vote no. even if Trump demands they vote yes. Their seat matters more than Trump's executive order. Their re-election matters more than Trump's agenda. Their career matters more than Trump's legacy. That's rational. That's self-interested. That's how politics actually works. And that's what's happening in Congress right now. The threat of impeachment is hanging over everything. Trump has warned Republicans about it repeatedly. He's said publicly, if you lose the House, Democrats will definitely come up with a reason to impeach me. That's a direct quote. He knows that if Democrats control the House, they will investigate him, subpoena his records, call witnesses, hold hearings, try to remove him from office. And here's the terrifying part for Trump. With current defection rates, who knows how many Republicans would vote to convict him on impeachment charges? If 20 Republicans will vote to overturn his executive orders on labor policy, how many will vote to impeach him? If 35 Republicans will defect on other issues, how many will vote to remove him from office? If there's a genuine scandal, if there's a real bombshell, if there's something that really shocks people, maybe half the Republican caucus would vote against him, maybe more. And that's Trump's nightmare scenario. That's why he's so obsessed with keeping the House. That's why he's so focused on preventing Democrats from gaining any seats. He knows that if he loses the House, Democrats will impeach him, and enough Republicans might convict him that he could actually be removed from office. He could be convicted. He could be done. His presidency could end in disgrace. And the irony is that his own actions are making that scenario more likely. His own behavior is driving Republicans away. His own policies are creating defections. His own decisions are weakening his grip on power. He's creating the conditions for his own destruction. The bigger picture here is that Trump's grip on the Republican Party is slipping. It's weakening. USA Today and other outlets have reported that Trump's control is waning, his hold is diminishing, his ability to command loyalty is declining. And it's not because Republicans don't like him. It's not because the Republican base has turned on him. It's because Republicans in Congress are realizing that they can vote against him and survive, that they can break ranks and their constituents will respect them for it, that they can put their district's interests ahead of Trump's agenda and win re-election, that they don't have to blindly follow him, that they have independent power. Once that realization spreads through Congress, once more Republicans understand that they have leverage, more will use it, more will defect, more will break ranks, more will vote against him, and Trump's power will continue to erode. His ability to actually govern will continue to decline. His presidency will become increasingly paralyzed, increasingly ineffective, increasingly unable to do anything. The legislative agenda is already dead. Executive orders are being overturned. Veto overrides are passing. The only question is how bad it will get. What's going to happen next is that Trump is going to try to fight back. He's going to try to reestablish control over his party. He's going to try to intimidate Republicans into falling in line. He's going to attack them on Truth Social, call them names, question their loyalty, threaten them with primary challenges from the right. He's going to try to destroy them politically. But the threat is less effective now because Republicans realize they have leverage. Trump can't punish all of them simultaneously. He can't primary challenge all of them at once. If he tries to primary challenge 20 Republicans who voted against him on labor policy, he's going to lose some of those primaries. He's going to fail. He's going to create enemies. He's going to energize Democrats. He's going to look weak and vulnerable. It's going to backfire on him. So Trump is stuck. He's trapped. He can't control his party through intimidation anymore because his party has realized they have power. They realize they can say no. They realize they can survive without Trump. The dynamic has shifted permanently. Trump is now the one who needs them, and they know it. And they're going to use that leverage to protect their own interests, to secure their own re-election, to do what's best for their districts. They're not going to sacrifice their careers for Trump's agenda. They're not going to risk their seats for his policies. They're going to do what's best for them. And if that means voting against Trump, they'll do it. The implications of this are profound. Trump's presidency is fundamentally weakened. His ability to accomplish anything significant is gone. His legislative agenda is dead. His executive orders are being overturned. His vetoes are being overridden. His power is being constrained by his own party because they have the leverage. And if things continue on this trajectory, if Republicans keep defecting, if the margin keeps shrinking, Trump could become a lame duck president in his first term. He could be completely unable to govern. He could be reduced to issuing executive orders that Congress immediately overturns, giving speeches that no one takes seriously, and watching his agenda crumble around him. The question everyone is asking now is whether this will accelerate, whether more Republicans will defect, whether the dam will break completely. And the answer depends on several factors. It depends on whether Republicans continue to see defecting as politically beneficial. It depends on whether Trump's threats and intimidation continue to be ineffective. It depends on whether the Republican base starts to show signs of frustration with Trump's inability to get things done. It depends on whether Republicans in swing districts continue to believe that voting against Trump helps them more than it hurts them. And right now, all signs point to more defections. What's happening in Washington is a fundamental realignment of power. The Republican Party is no longer Trump's party in the way it used to be. It's a party that's fragmenting, that's developing internal divisions, that's facing choices between loyalty to Trump and loyalty to their own political survival. And increasingly, they're choosing survival. They're choosing their districts. They're choosing their careers. They're choosing themselves over Trump, and Trump can't stop them. He can't control them. He can't intimidate them into submission. He's lost control of his own party, and without control of his party, he can't control the government. The war powers issue is particularly important because it shows that Republicans are willing to defy Trump on matters of national security, on issues where party unity is usually absolute. When 4 Republicans joined Democrats to constrain Trump's ability to wage war against Iran, they were sending a powerful message. They were saying that Trump's judgment on military matters is suspect. They were saying that they don't trust him with unlimited war powers. They were saying that the Constitution matters more than party loyalty. And that's a devastating indictment of Trump's leadership. The union vote was another major blow. 20 Republicans said no to Trump on a core conservative issue. They said no to weakening unions. They said no to stripping workers' rights. They said no to Trump's agenda because they believed their voters wanted them to say no. And that's the kind of defection that really hurts. That's the kind of defection that shows Trump that his power has limits. That's the kind of defection that emboldens others to do the same. The pattern is clear. Republicans are defecting on issues where their districts have a stake, where their voters are paying attention, where their constituents have a voice. They're voting against Trump when they think it helps them, and they're staying silent when they think it doesn't matter. They're calculating their political interest and making decisions based on what's best for them. And because the margin is so thin, every defection is devastating. Every Republican who says no kills a bill. Every Republican who breaks ranks blocks an agenda. Every Republican who defects paralyzes the presidency. The math is brutal, and there's no escaping it. With a majority of 1 or 2 votes, Trump can't afford to lose anyone. He can't afford to have Republicans absent. He can't afford to have Republicans sick. He can't afford to have Republicans taking personal days. He can't afford to have Republicans voting their conscience. He needs every single vote, every single time, on every single issue, and he's not getting them. Republicans are saying no. They're staying home. They're voting against him. They're breaking ranks. And there's nothing Trump can do about it. This is what a collapsing majority looks like. This is what happens when a party loses its discipline, when its members start putting their own interests ahead of the party's interests, when the leader loses control. The machinery of government grinds to a halt, the wheels fall off, nothing gets done, every bill fails, every executive order gets overturned, every veto gets overridden, and the president is left standing there, powerless, humiliated, exposed as the weak leader he really is. The irony is that Trump brought this on himself. He's the one who created an environment where Republicans feel emboldened to defy him. He's the one who alienated moderate Republicans with his extreme policies. He's the one who created a thin majority by alienating swing voters in 2024. He's the one who made the GOP so vulnerable to defections. He built this house of cards and now it's collapsing around him. And he can't blame anyone else. He can't blame the Democrats. He can't blame the media. He can't blame the deep state. He can only blame himself. What happens next is going to be fascinating to watch. Trump is going to try to fight back. He's going to try to reassert control. He's going to try to intimidate Republicans into submission. But it's not going to work. The threat of a primary challenge is less effective than it used to be because Republicans are realizing that Trump's endorsement isn't as valuable as it once was. They're realizing that they can survive without him. They're realizing that their voters care more about local issues than about national politics. They're realizing that they have options. And once you realize you have options, once you realize you don't have to follow the leader, everything changes. The longer this goes on, the more Republicans will defect. The more they see others getting away with it, the more emboldened they'll become. The more they see Trump's threats failing, the less they'll fear him. And the more they fear losing their seats more than they fear Trump, the more they'll vote against him. It's a self-reinforcing cycle, a death spiral for Trump's presidency. And there's no way to stop it. The bottom line is that Trump's presidency is increasingly constrained by his own party. His legislative agenda is functionally paralyzed. His executive orders are being overturned. His vetoes are being overridden. His power is completely dependent on whether House Republicans will vote with him. And increasingly, they won't. They'll vote with him on some things. They'll vote against him on others. They'll break ranks when they think it's in their interest. They'll defect when they think their voters want them to. And Trump can't stop them. Trump can't control them. Trump can't punish them into submission because they have leverage, because they know he needs them, because they know his majority is thin and fragile. And as long as that's true, Trump is weak. Trump is vulnerable. Trump is exposed. This is the moment when Trump's presidency dies. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Not through impeachment or scandal, but through simple political paralysis. The inability to get anything done. The inability to pass any legislation. The inability to enforce any policy. The inability to control his own party. That's how presidencies end. That's how power evaporates. That's how empires fall. Not dramatically, not all at once, but gradually, painfully, inevitably. And the tragedy for Trump is that he could have prevented this. He could have built a stronger majority. He could have cultivated better relationships with Republicans in Congress. He could have moderated his positions to appeal to a broader coalition. He could have governed from the center instead of the extremes. He could have been a uniter instead of a divider. But he didn't. He chose the path of division, of confrontation, of extremism. And now he's reaping what he sowed. His party is fracturing. His power is dissolving. His presidency is ending in failure. The Republicans who are defecting aren't heroes. They're not principled statesmen. Most of them are just looking out for themselves. But in a system that's driven by self-interest, that's enough. Their self-interest is pulling them away from Trump. Their survival instincts are telling them to break ranks. Their political calculations are leading them to vote against him. And Trump can't stop them because he can't offer them anything more valuable than what they're getting from defecting. His threats are empty. His promises are hollow. His power is illusory. So this is where we are. Trump's presidency is collapsing. His grip on Congress is slipping. His agenda is dead. His power is gone. And the only question that remains is how long it will take for the final collapse to happen. Will it be months? Will it be years? Will it happen before the next election or after? Nobody knows. But everyone can see which way the wind is blowing. The house of cards is falling, the empire is crumbling, and Donald Trump is powerless to stop it. The final irony is that Trump will probably blame everyone but himself. He'll blame the Democrats. He'll blame the media. He'll blame the deep state. He'll blame the Republicans who defected. He'll blame anyone and everyone except the person who's actually responsible. But the blame doesn't matter. The excuses don't matter. The spin doesn't matter. What matters is the reality. And the reality is that Trump's presidency is over. Not officially, not yet. But functionally, practically, effectively. He can no longer govern. He can no longer lead. He can no longer control his own party. He is a president in name only, a hollow shell of what he once was, a cautionary tale about the limits of power. The collapse of the GOP majority is the story of the moment. The defections are the news of the day. The paralysis of Trump's presidency is the reality we're living in, and the implications are going to be felt for years to come. This is what happens when a party becomes too dependent on one person. This is what happens when a leader loses touch with his base. This is what happens when power is built on sand. The tide comes in and washes everything away. And Donald Trump is standing there, ankle deep in the tide, watching his empire dissolve around him.